The unexpected encounter. Commander Lucius King sat in the quiet control room of the Resolute, Earth's most advanced warship, built for one purpose: to defend humanity's place in the galaxy. The glow of the holographic displays illuminated his chiseled features, casting a cool blue light across his angular face. His mind was sharp and alert, yet a small part of him longed for the peace he once knew in the military training academies. But those days were long gone. Now he was a commander in a galaxy where the stakes were higher than he'd ever imagined. Tensions between Earth and the Zereth Collective, an alien race with immense power and a long history of territorial aggression, had reached a breaking point. It had been 6 months since the first hostile encounter, where a human colony on the edge of known space had been destroyed in a single devastating strike. That attack had been the spark that lit the fuse of war. Lucius had spent countless sleepless nights strategizing, calculating every potential move, and predicting the Zereth's next strike. Earth had prepared for retaliation, ready to engage in full-scale war. The Resolute was the pride of humanity, and Lucius had been entrusted with its command. However, as each day passed, Lucius felt an unsettling pressure. Something in his gut told him that war might not be the answer. That's when the message arrived. A sudden chime echoed through the control room, breaking Lucius from his thoughts. The holographic interface flashed to life, displaying a transmission from an unknown source. His heartbeat quickened, instinctively reaching for his communication device. A deep voice emerged from the speakers, devoid of any emotion. "Commander Lucius King, we request a meeting with you. The Zereth Collective seeks diplomacy, not war." Lucius' brow furrowed. The Zereth had been relentless in their pursuit of galactic dominance, and they had never shown even a hint of mercy toward humanity. The mere suggestion of diplomacy felt wrong. He turned to his second-in-command, Captain Nyla Wren, who stood nearby, her arms crossed as she studied the message with skepticism. "Captain, what do you think?" Lucius asked, his voice steady, though internally he was conflicted. Nyla, with her fiery red hair and sharp green eyes, gave a dismissive shake of her head. "Sir, this is unprecedented. The Zereth don't make requests, they make demands. They'd been preparing for war since the beginning. Why would they suddenly change course now?" Lucius wasn't sure. Maybe they're testing us. Maybe they think we'll lower our guard. Her skepticism only deepened as she glanced back at the transmission. Or they know that we're ready to strike back with everything we've got. What if they're trying to trick us into making the first move? A long silence followed. Lucius knew his crew's doubts weren't unfounded. The Zereth had never shown signs of weakness, and they had far superior technology in many areas, including weapons and starships. If the Zereth were requesting peace talks, it could be a strategy to weaken humanity's resolve. "We can't ignore it," Lucius finally said, his voice laced with determination. "I'll meet with them. We need to know their true intentions." Preparing for the unknown. The Resolute was positioned on the edge of Earth's star system, its engines idling as it prepared for a journey into the heart of enemy territory. The Zereth ship, Eclipse, was waiting for them in a distant sector. Lucius knew that this was not just another diplomatic mission. It was a gamble. One wrong move, one misstep, and the stakes of war could increase exponentially. As he stood in front of the large window of the command bridge, Lucius stared out into the vast, silent expanse of space. He thought of his crew, of the families back on Earth who trusted him to ensure their survival. He thought of his younger sister, Anya, who had always believed in him, even when the odds were against them. If the war started now, there would be no telling what the future would hold. "Commander," Captain Wren's voice broke through his thoughts, and he turned to find her standing at attention near the entrance of the bridge. She had always been someone who got straight to the point. "We've analyzed their transmission. There's a lot of static in the signal, but we've managed to determine the location of their flagship. It's deep within the Zereth border, and we're going to need to navigate through uncharted space." Lucius nodded. "I'm aware. I've made the decision to meet them face to face. We won't send just a diplomatic envoy. Ongoing. Nyla raised an eyebrow. With all due respect, sir, this could be a trap. I've seen firsthand the horrors the Zereth are capable of. I know, Lucius replied, his gaze hardened with resolve. But this is not just about us anymore. We can't keep fighting endless battles. We need to find another way. A glimpse of the unknown. As the Resolute approached the Zereth border, the tension was palpable among the crew. Every officer, every technician, every soldier knew this could be their final journey. The Zereth ships loomed ominously in the distance as the crew prepared for what could be an ambush. On board the Eclipse, Valek, the Zereth leader, awaited the arrival of the human delegation. Standing tall, his dark metallic exoskeleton glinted under the artificial lighting of the command chamber. His crimson eyes, cold and unblinking, reflected the vast emptiness of space. He had spent countless cycles preparing for this moment. This was his chance to either crush humanity or find an ally in their midst. Commander King, Valek's voice echoed in the silence of the Eclipse's docking bay. I trust you've come prepared. Lucius stood in front of the towering alien, his back straight and posture unwavering. I've come to hear your proposal, Valek. Let's see what you have to offer. The waiting game. The meeting had been arranged in the heart of the Eclipse. A grand hall, unlike anything Lucius had ever seen, stretched out before him. It was adorned with strange, alien technology and shimmering, shifting colors that pulsed with energy. The room was quiet, save for the hum of energy flowing through the walls. At the far end, Valek and his council waited for Lucius to step forward. As Lucius approached, the alien leader's eyes locked onto his, studying him with intensity. I trust you are prepared to listen. The Zereth are not without mercy, Commander. Lucius raised an eyebrow, unsure of whether to believe him. Mercy. After everything that's happened between our people. Valek's voice was calm, but there was an undeniable sense of power beneath it. The universe is vast, Commander. There is more to this conflict than you realize. We have been fighting for survival, just as you have. The words hung in the air as Lucius took a step closer, his mind racing. This was only the beginning. The fate of both their worlds now rested in this moment. The proposal. The air inside the Zereth flagship, Eclipse, hummed with a faint, unnatural energy, vibrating with the technological might of a species far beyond human understanding. Commander Lucius King stood at the edge of the grand chamber, his eyes scanning the room, adjusting to the dim, ever-shifting lights that pulsed from the walls. Strange symbols, etched into the very architecture, seemed to writhe and shift before his eyes. He knew this was not just any meeting. It was a meeting on the precipice of something monumental. Valek, the towering leader of the Zereth collective, stood at the far end of the chamber, his gleaming, armored form barely moving. His crimson eyes, cold and calculating, were locked on Lucius, appraising him in silence. The presence of the Zereth's elite council was palpable, each member an enigma in their own right. They observed, waiting for the human commander to make his move. Lucius took a step forward, his boots making a faint click against the smooth, polished surface of the chamber. His mind raced, trying to dissect the reasons behind this sudden diplomatic overture. Everything in his training, every instinct, screamed that this was a trap, a baited challenge. Yet here he was, staring into the abyss, uncertain of what the Zereth were truly after. Commander King, Valek's voice broke the stillness of the room, deep and resonant, as if it vibrated through Lucius's very bones. I trust you understand the weight of the proposition before you. This is not a mere exchange of words. This is the future of your people. Lucius straightened, his face betraying no emotion, but inside, the tension was unbearable. I've come to hear what you have to say, Valek. But make no mistake, if this is a ruse, if this is an attempt to weaken humanity's resolve, I will not hesitate to act. Valek's sharp, almost predatory gaze never wavered, but he tilted his head, as if intrigued by the commander's boldness. Your bravado is admirable, Commander. But I assure you, this is not a ruse. The Zereth, like your species, are at a crossroads. The conflict between us has spiraled far beyond what was intended. Our people face the possibility of extinction, and the reality is, we need your help. Lucius's eyebrow raised, the weight of Valak's words sinking in. He had prepared for the usual threats, words meant to instill fear, to provoke Earth's wrath into retaliation. But this was different. The Zereth were admitting something that had never been part of their calculations: vulnerability. Help. Lucius's voice was a mixture of disbelief and curiosity. You're the most technologically advanced species in this sector. How can humanity help you? Valak's lips, if they could be called such, twisted into something resembling a smile. It was a subtle, almost imperceptible movement, but Lucius caught it, and it unsettled him further. Our empire is fractured, Commander. The war with your people, the conflicts we've waged for centuries, these have drained our resources, our strength. The Zereth are divided, both in purpose and in leadership. We stand at the edge of a great internal collapse, and the forces of rebellion are growing stronger within our own ranks. I know the human mind is capable of uniting your people under a common banner. We need your ingenuity, your adaptability. Lucius listened intently, though the information sounded too convoluted to be entirely true. The Zereth had never shown such vulnerability. He had always seen them as cold, calculating beings who valued nothing but domination and control. Now, this leader, this symbol of power, was offering cooperation. It didn't sit right. You're telling me, Lucius began slowly, his voice laced with suspicion, that you're asking for help because your empire is crumbling, and you want Earth's assistance to save it. Valak's eyes flickered with something approaching resolve. Yes, Commander. That is the essence of it. The rebellion within our ranks grows ever more dangerous. We have been fighting for survival, against your people, against each other. But this cycle of violence, this constant bloodshed, is unsustainable. We've learned that we cannot win this war alone. If we continue to clash, both our civilizations will burn, and what remains of the galaxy will be little more than ashes. Lucius felt the weight of those words. Could the Zereth truly be so desperate? For all their power and technology, could they truly be on the brink of collapse? 1,000 questions raced through his mind. He had fought in wars before, seen firsthand the toll conflict could take on both sides, but he had never imagined a situation where an alien empire would reach out to humanity for help. He wanted to believe that this was some form of manipulation, some elaborate strategy to weaken humanity before striking. But something in Valak's demeanor suggested a level of sincerity. Why Earth? Lucius asked, his voice steady. Why not another alien race or one of your own factions? Why turn to us? The alien leader took a deep, slow breath, as if gathering his thoughts. Because your people, your humanity, is unlike any other species we've encountered. You have the capacity to adapt, to innovate, to think beyond the constraints of your biology. You have defeated every challenge that has stood before you, whether it be in your wars, your space exploration, or your survival against overwhelming odds. The Zereth value strength, yes, but we value something more, resilience. And that is why we believe a union with your people could restore balance to the galaxy. Lucius's gaze never faltered as he considered the implications of what was being said. Was this some form of twisted alliance, or was there a genuine possibility that Earth could help the Zereth in their moment of weakness? The thought of forming any alliance with such a powerful, unpredictable enemy was dangerous. But the alternative, an all-out war with no end in sight, was a fate Lucius wasn't willing to embrace without first exploring every possible avenue. You want an alliance, Lucius murmured, his thoughts now clearer, though still clouded by uncertainty. But why not just accept humanity's offer to cease hostilities? Why seek a deeper partnership? Valak's gaze softened, just slightly, and Lucius felt the weight of that look. Because peace without understanding is nothing more than a temporary truce. A partnership, however, can bring stability. Our species are not so different, Commander. Both of us have been shaped by war, by survival. We are at the precipice of something much greater than our differences. Together, we can rebuild not just our empires, but the fabric of the galaxy itself. The unexpected proposal. The silence that followed seemed to stretch endlessly, both men contemplating the magnitude of what was being discussed. Finally, Lucius broke the stillness, his voice low and measured. "So, what exactly is it that you propose, Valek? You're asking for humanity's help, but at what cost?" Valek inclined his head, his expression unreadable. "The Zereth Collective offers a peace treaty, yes. But there's more. We offer a shared future, a joint governance of the sectors under our control. And in time, a union between our people, something that transcends the boundaries of our species. Humanity and the Zereth, together." Lucius's pulse quickened at the suggestion, the full weight of the implications settling on his shoulders. A union between humans and Zereth. The idea of joining forces with an alien empire that had long been seen as a threat seemed unfathomable, even dangerous. But Valek's words were not just a proposal, they were an invitation to change the very course of history. "You propose an alliance between our species," Lucius repeated, trying to wrap his mind around the enormity of the offer. "But what does that mean exactly? How do we move forward?" Valek took a step forward, his towering figure casting a long shadow over Lucius. "The first step is trust. The first step is cooperation. And it begins with you, Commander. You are the one who will represent humanity's answer to this proposal. You are the one who will decide whether peace is truly possible, or if we are doomed to destroy each other in the name of pride." Lucius felt his heart pounding in his chest. This was no longer just a diplomatic mission. It was the moment that would decide the future of both Earth and the Zereth. And for the first time, he realized that his actions here, today, could determine whether the galaxy was doomed to endless war, or whether it would finally see peace. A union or a trap? The eclipse felt like a different world. The hum of its alien technology, the flicker of its bioluminescent lights, and the overwhelming presence of the Zereth leaders made Lucius King feel like an intruder in an unfamiliar galaxy. Every step he took through the halls of the Zereth flagship only reminded him of how little humanity truly knew about the creatures they were now facing. The weight of the proposal, the possibility of an alliance, a union with an alien race, hung heavily on his shoulders. His mind was a swirl of conflicting thoughts. Could the Zereth be trusted? Was their offer genuine, or was it a desperate ploy to weaken humanity before making their final strike? The more Lucius thought about it, the more he realized that there was no easy answer. He was tasked with a mission that could define the future of both Earth and the galaxy. The stakes were higher than anything he'd ever faced in his military career. Captain Nyla Wren, his ever-dedicated second-in-command, walked beside him as they made their way toward the conference room for the next round of negotiations. Her usually confident expression was now clouded with doubt. "Sir," she spoke, her voice tinged with concern. "You've been quiet since the meeting with Valek. Are you considering his proposal?" Lucius didn't answer immediately, his eyes focused ahead. They were nearing the meeting chamber, where the next session of talks would take place. He stopped walking and turned to face Nyla, his features stern. "I don't know what to think. Valek claims his people are at the brink of collapse. He says they need our help. But why now? Why would an empire that's so advanced, so ruthless, suddenly ask for peace?" Nyla folded her arms, her gaze unwavering. "Because they've realized something we haven't, sir. Maybe their technology can win battles, but it can't win wars that span centuries. Maybe they've hit a wall. Maybe they're desperate enough to seek out help from the very people they've been trying to destroy." Lucius looked at her, considering her words. But what kind of help are they really asking for? Do they just want a ceasefire? Or is this about something more? A deeper partnership? And if so, what does it cost us? Nyla paused for a moment before speaking again, her voice softer now. I think they're trying to figure out what makes us tick. They see that humanity has survived against the odds time and time again. Maybe they think that, if they can make a real connection, there's a chance, no matter how slim, that we'll work together. But I can't shake the feeling that they're hiding something. This could be a trap. Lucius nodded, his gaze far off. He had fought in enough battles to know that there was always a price, whether it was an ally's betrayal, a hidden agenda, or a concession made to secure peace. But right now, there were no easy answers. As much as he wanted to believe in the possibility of peace, something inside him warned that it was too good to be true. The high-stakes negotiation. Entering the conference room, Lucius and Nyla were greeted by an almost eerie silence. The Zareth Council members were already seated, their dark, metallic exoskeletons gleaming under the ambient light. At the head of the table sat Valak, his eyes cold and unreadable. The sheer presence of the Zareth leader was unsettling. His towering frame, the deep resonant tone of his voice, the way he commanded the room without uttering a single word. There was no denying the power in his presence. Commander King, Valak's voice echoed across the room, the deep hum of his words cutting through the silence like a blade. I trust you are ready to discuss the future of our peoples. I am pleased that you've come prepared to listen. Lucius did his best to maintain his composure as he stepped forward, taking his seat at the far end of the table. I'm here to listen, Valak. But let me make one thing clear. Humanity does not enter agreements lightly. We will not bow to anyone, especially not under duress. If you think this is some kind of power play, you're mistaken. Valak studied him for a moment, as though assessing his worth. Your strength is undeniable, Commander. It is precisely why we have come to you with this proposal. The Zareth will not survive on their own. The galaxy is changing, and we can either adapt together, or we will be torn apart. Our people have fought and bled for countless generations, but now we see the cost of our stubbornness. Lucius looked across the table at the other Zareth officials. They were silent, their eyes locked on him with a mix of expectation and wariness. He could feel the tension in the air. It was as though they were waiting for him to make the first move, the decision that would determine the future of both Earth and the Zareth. And what exactly are you asking for? Lucius pressed. You say you need our help. What does that entail? Valak's gaze softened, if only slightly. We ask for your expertise in uniting a fractured empire. The Zareth collective is vast, Commander, but it is divided. There are factions within our own ranks who no longer recognize my leadership. Rebellions have sprung up on multiple fronts, and our resources are dwindling. If we cannot resolve this within the next few cycles, the collective will implode from within. What we need is someone with the ability to bridge these divides, to bring order to our people. We need humanity's strength, your adaptability, and strategic brilliance. Lucius leaned forward, his hands steepled together. You want us to help you lead your people, help you crush your own rebels. Is that it? Valak's expression remained stoic. Not just lead, Commander. We seek a partnership, a merging of our strengths. Humanity's resilience in the face of adversity is unmatched. You have fought wars, survived near extinction, and yet you still stand. The Zareth are powerful, but we lack the unity that you possess. Together, we could forge a new future, one where both our peoples thrive. This is not just about survival. It is about building something greater than what we've had before. The proposal hung in the air, weighty in charge. Lucius could feel the gravity of the situation, the monumental decision that was being thrust upon him. This was no simple alliance. It was an invitation to reshape the very fabric of the galaxy. An offer to bind two civilizations, so different yet oddly alike, in a common cause. The cost of peace. Lucius sat back in his chair, his mind racing. This was more than just a diplomatic mission. The Zareth were offering him something that he had never expected. The chance to shape the future of both Earth and their empire. But at what cost? What would it mean for humanity to ally with the Zereth? What kind of repercussions would they face from other factions in the galaxy? And what price would humanity pay to forge this union? He turned to Nyla, who had been listening quietly at his side, her expression unreadable. "Captain, what do you think? Is this worth it? Can we trust them?" Nyla's eyes narrowed as she met his gaze. "I don't know, sir. There's a lot riding on this. If we align ourselves with the Zereth, there's no turning back. It could be the beginning of a new era, or it could be the downfall of humanity. They're offering us a lifeline, but it's a lifeline tied to their survival, not ours. We have to decide if we're willing to gamble everything on this." Lucius looked back at Valak, whose eyes never left him. The Zereth leader seemed to sense the hesitation in the air, and his voice softened, as if trying to appeal to Lucius's sense of honor. "Commander," Valak said quietly, his tone carrying an unusual weight of sincerity. "This is not a simple request. This is a choice between destruction and a future neither of us can fully foresee. If you choose peace, you will not just be saving our species, you will be saving your own." The room fell into silence, and Lucius could feel the weight of Valak's words pressing down on him. The future was uncertain, and the path ahead was fraught with risk. But at that moment, Lucius understood one thing clearly. Whatever choice he made, it would echo across the galaxy for generations to come.